Welcome to the Traitor, a Traitors podcast. My name is David Bloomberg, and I'm your host for the final week of season 1 of the Traitors Ireland. And today we are talking about episode 11. When I say we, once again, our co host here for these last 3 episodes should be very familiar to regular listeners or watchers, MaJiKer, aka Matthew.
Hey, hi, Trader listeners, back again for this little final run of episodes.
I'm sure that people know you by now.
Mhm.
But just in case someone's like, "Oh, here's this podcast. I'm on episode 11. Let's figure it out." Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, let's start this season on episode 11. But
Yeah.
hey, everyone is welcome. Um, I'm a songwriter and producer and a life coach. I'm going to be using some of my, I wouldn't say skills, but some of my pop knowledge today. I've got a couple of, don't know how up you are on your pop girlies, David, but
Oh,
there are two.
I'm right up there. Yeah.
Yeah, Kylie Minogue, Britney Spears, you're fully prepared. Perfect.
Yes.
Because there are a couple of moments when I think that might come in useful today. So let's see.
All right. Thank you. And for those who don't already know me, I have been covering reality TV for over 25 years in various outlets and for 10 years in podcasts. In addition, I post reality TV videos on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram as at David Bloomberg. And let's just jump into episode 11. Of course, we left off not knowing who Nick and Ben would murder, though both of us, plus Dad Matthew, predicted it would be Oyen. And I said, it's almost too obvious that it's Oyen, but certainly they wouldn't do anyone else. So we get to breakfast. Ben and Kelly arrive first. And of course, Kelly had the shield, so there was no suspense there for her. Kelly correctly notes that without the shield, she probably would have been murdered because she's not close to anyone there. There's that whole alliance thing again. Now, Ben says he messed up and accidentally refers to Will in the past tense when she mentions him. Now, I have to tell you, I played this multiple times. I'm talking at least 5 or 6 times.
Mm.
I did not really hear it because the first thing he says is in the present tense. He is
Yeah.
the most random man ever.
Hmm.
And then he kind of mumbles something else that could be, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I could barely catch it. The microphones barely caught it. I
Mm.
don't see any way she would have caught that.
Yeah, I also wound it back, and I did because of his facial expression
Mm-hmm.
afterwards. I was like, okay, there it is, because he
Yeah.
goes, wasn't he? And literally, looks at the kind
Yeah.
of at the camera, or at least looks away from her, and was like, oops, 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 what have I done? But you're right, combination of how fast. I think he's a Dubliner. It sounds like a Dublin accent to me. Correct me if I'm wrong, listeners in the comments.
I was going to say,
Speak.
don't ask me to correct you. You know?
Sounds like a Dublin accent to me. We will see. Says the man who's never set foot in Ireland.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's this kind of like, wasn't he? Like it really comes out. But clearly he must have said it. He must have
Right.
heard himself say it because then he's like cringing. Yeah, that was an interesting one because they've done that a few couple of times now. People have referred to people in the past tense, either, based on something they knew, and that was a weird one. I don't think we've ever had that before, where therefore it kind of gave away that they
Yes.
killed Wilkin. We didn't know that up until that point.
Right. That's what I was going to say is as far as I know, this is the first time, at least in an English speaking one that I remember, that we know right off the bat who it actually is.
Hmm.
And it's like, oh, okay, I guess they did choose to go that route.
Yeah.
All right. Uh, and, the edit was indeed trying to mislead us. And I pointed it out and I still went along with it. But what are you going to do?
Do you think, David, there might have been more sus on Oyen than us viewers were seeing? Because I was genuinely surprised when she walked in. I was pleased because I really like Oyen, but I was like, that felt like a bad miss. But then, as we headed later, we're like, oh, there was some sus on it. Or what's your take on it?
I think there was sus, and I also think I I think that there's more going on here with the duos and the trio and how they want to work it and manipulate it. And I think we'll see more of that as we go along. Like if they took out Oyen, then who does it fall on? Does it fall on Faye automatically?
Mm,
And if they want to keep Faye, you know, and not being able to predict what Will is going to do,
yeah.
I, I mean, their plan didn't work out anyway, obviously, but I, I just think that they were maybe overthinking it.
Mm, it's an interesting strategy to take out the loose cannon. Um, yeah, because that can go both ways, can't it? You've got a
Right.
loose cannon, great. So he probably won't get through to the front, or maybe he would because he's so unpredictable. I didn't quite follow their logic, but I thought it was a very interesting move, and I feel like it's paid off.
Yeah. Well, we'll see at the end. I'm not sure I agree,
Mm.
but
Okay.
but for Will, I think you do take the loose cannon to the end because everyone agrees he's not to be listened to. So
Mm,
why would you not keep him in the game? Let's say that I mean you could walk up to him and say, if you're a better Nick, I'm a traitor. And he'd run off and tell someone, and they'd be like, yeah, okay. Whatever you say, Will. That's
mm,
very nice. Sure, good job. Um, and that they're just not going to join up with Will. As
mm,
much as they talked about Joanna last episode saying, why did you get the dagger when no one ever follows you?
mm.
Will is 10 times worse. He's just absolutely random, like spin a wheel random almost.
Yeah.
I feel like leaving him in would have been the better move.
Yes. Yeah, really interesting because he's such an unusual player
Right.
because he didn't know what was going on and he would come up with some theories, but then he didn't seem to have a lot of conviction in his theories. So yeah, it's a fascinating. Again, this game is so fascinating because you end up with these different people. Um, I'm really glad they cast him because although you know you could debate how much he contributed, but actually it makes these murders very interesting. Really interesting. I just keep thinking, what would I do? I do not know what I would have done. I really don't.
Yeah. I'm I'm going to disagree with you on the really glad that they cast him part. Um, because you mentioned before we started recording that you watched Traitors
Un-
Uncloaked.
Uncloaked, yes.
And so you said that he had never watched before.
Yeah, never seen it. Had no idea what it was. Was kind of learning the game as he went.
Why would you apply to be on a show where you don't bother to do any research whatsoever?
It is incredibly strange, and it shows an enormous lack of curiosity. To even when you're cast to not unless he was I cannot compute
I
and
mean,
say
unless they
what.
found him at the airport, they needed one more player, and they were like, "You come with us. Where are we going? Slane Castle." I mean,
I mean, to be honest, there are worse casting procedures than to pull someone off the street and say, "Come on," because as I say, I think it was entertaining. He wasn't he was a terrible player, maybe the worst ever. Like in terms of just not understanding what was going on, not really contributing, not in the group, not having alliances, like not doing anything. But I mean, we're still talking about him, so I think he added a
well,
lot of
but
value, you know.
yeah, I mean, this is hitting home a little bit for me, having just we're at the end of a U.S. Big Brother season, where there were several of these players who
Mm,
were cast without having seen it, and instead of like studying up, they asked Chat GPT how to play the game, and they
hmm
admitted this. And some of them didn't even do that, and they lied. And there was one that it's funny because it's Kelly with an EY, so I cringe every time I see her name come up. But the one in the U.S. and Big Brother, she lied from the beginning of casting. Like she said in her pregame interview, I've seen 1 or 2 seasons, and I knew it right away. I'm like, if you've seen 15 or 16 seasons of something, okay, I'll grant you the or. 1 or 2, there's a big difference between 1 and 2. You
Hmm.
know if you've seen 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And throughout the season, she told different people different things. 1, 2, some reels, some this. So she just lied through the whole thing, and it was clear she had no idea what she was doing. And
Mm.
it impacted the game in a negative way. And for
Mm.
someone like me, yeah, people watch US Big Brother for different reasons. And I'm sure people watch the Traitors for different reasons. And I'm sure a lot of the people who watch the Traitors and don't care about US Big Brother are like, fast forward, fast forward. When is he going to stop talking about this? But this does relate to both because I watch it for the strategy. This is something I've discussed here on the podcast before. Some people watch US Big Brother and the Traitors for entertainment.
Mm.
What did Will and this other person on US Big Brother provide entertainment at times? Sometimes. Believe me, the one on US Big Brother, far, far worse. But I didn't even find someone like that entertaining because it's like, why are you here? What is your point of being here?
Yeah, it's true. And actually, now you've convinced me because
Ah,
actually, Wilkin,
yes.
if he just had the courage of his convictions, would have been an amazing person, not understanding the rules and being really vocal. That would have been amazing.
Mm,
As it was, the combination of not getting it and being a bit quiet and not really fitting in. Yeah, okay. Still, he seems like a lovely chap.
yes.
And look how much we haven't spoken this much about any murdered player in the whole season. So there you go. Wilkin wins.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Maybe if he were in a US season, he'd win. But anyway, getting back to breakfast, that took up way more time than I expected there.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Wilkin. That's all I can
Yes.
say.
We haven't even officially gotten the news yet. Uh, so uh, Vanessa is next in. She tells us that she's never thought about Ben till now because they're very close, but she does think Kelly could be a traitor. She talks about how they unintentionally manipulated the situation against Joanna. And Kelly is now thinking that maybe Joanna didn't lie and it was Oyen and Vanessa pushing it. Maybe you should have considered that yesterday, kind of like we discussed. That if all of a sudden the people who are your opponents are joining with you, maybe you think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. Kelly adds that she'd rather lose the game than see anyone upset at this point. That's not exactly a killer instinct for the business graduate.
No, I guess the business climate is slightly different in Ireland.
um, so Faye joins them and tells us it's gotten too clicky and everyone is in friend groups and killing off people outside the friend group. Yeah, those are called alliances. Um,
Hmm.
Vanessa thinks Nick is a traitor, and they discuss that it doesn't make sense that he's still there otherwise. Faye tells us she, Ben, and Nick are protecting each other while Vanessa and Oyen are protecting each other. So it only makes sense that Will would be murdered. Of course, they don't realize yet. If he comes through that door, he must be a traitor, which again tells me they should not have murdered him because he is on his own, and they literally played right into the whole alliance thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm not convinced in their play in this
Yeah,
final.
yeah.
It's a penultimate round. I'm not convinced at all.
Oyen is next, making it official that Will is gone. Though, of course, technically, Nick still has to come in. Faye tells us that she thinks Oyen is a traitor because she insisted Joanna was lying, but then Joanna said she wasn't and turned out to be faithful. Meanwhile, Oyen tells us she almost knows Faye is a traitor. Nick comes in and they're all shocked. Oh no, Will is gone. That will make a big impact on the strategic game. Uh, so we rewind in time to the conclave the night before. Nick pushed for Will to go because he's too unreliable and hard to understand and won't help them in Final Five. So at this moment, I figured they were just planning to stick through to the final three in with their alliance with Faye. I this whole won't help them in final five. I think he's looking at it the wrong way. You should be more concerned about someone who won't hurt you in final five, not and he wouldn't have.
Yes. Yeah, again, I think this was a
Yeah,
strategic mistake. I think it was a mistake keeping Oyin and Vanessa. I
right.
think they are a clique. You had to break them
Yes.
up.
Yeah.
I think I can't see what the downside to that is unless I'm a couple of moves behind.
I
Yeah,
mean
a
the
bit of a weird one.
yeah, the only downside that I can see, let's say you get rid of Oyen, then Vanessa says, "Aha, it must be one of you three." Although apparently
Mm.
some of them were saying it could be Will. Uh, and okay, they say it must be one of you three, but then she has to convince both Kelly and Will, even to make it a tie.
Mm.
Are you really going to be able to convince Kelly and Will by yourself? I
Mm.
don't see it happening. So, yeah. When Will gets his murder letter, he says it's like being an astronaut, being sent out to meet different species and then getting sent back to Earth. I'm pretty sure Will is the one from a different planet here, so I believe he has a longer trip ahead of him.
It's like this is so weird. It's like everything in this experience is so alien to me. It's almost like we're like a TV show or something.
Yeah,
Like we've been cast in this, and there's someone pulling the strings, and all this stuff keeps happening. And why are we doing another mission? This is so alien to me.
people keep dying. It's so
Yeah.
so strange. Ugh. Well, back at breakfast, Nick thanks whoever didn't murder him, and Vanessa says it couldn't have been her. She definitely would have killed him off. Siobhan shows up and talks about how being friendly is good. She has Vanessa get Will's portrait from the top row and places it gently on the table. And she also seems to be giving clues about counting, which Kelly helpfully says the only thing she can think of from this clue is counting. So,
I mean, it could have been a mission with, like Count Duckula or something like that. Let's just be a bit more open-minded about this.
what is Count Duckula?
What is Count Duckula, David? Surely that came from your fine country. It's like a version of, oh, I'm gonna get my ducks mixed up now. Is it Daffy Duck or
You better
Donald
get
Duck?
your ducks in a row.
I've got to get my ducks in a row. It's one of the ducks, and yeah, Count Duckula. Was that British? Goodness me, you're blowing my mind here. We used to have a cartoon on after school called Count Duckula. Look it up, it was a classic.
Okay. I mean, it's possible it's from here, and it's just a little too young for me. So
Yeah,
that's
might have slipped
also,
between
yeah.
the cracks of you and your kids, maybe.
Yes. Yes. All right. After breakfast, Faye and Kelly compare notes about yesterday. Both voted Joanna because they thought she was lying, but now they think it's Oyen. And again, not to, beat a dead horse, but yeah, they should have thought of that sooner.
Hmm.
Uh, they get around to discussing that they think Nick could be a traitor with Oyen. One of the guys has to be, or else it doesn't make sense why they're still there. Kelly trusts Ben more because Nick would be a better traitor. And I mean, the thing is, she's right. Without even knowing that Ben made the slip up. Yeah, I think Nick is a better traitor. Ben comes in and Faye says she knows it's neither him or Kelly. Good read, Faye. In another room, Nick is talking to Oyen and Vanessa, with the general idea being that Ben and Faye, two people who aren't in the room, are the traitors. Oyen tells Nick that he and Ben protect her, and protect Faye. And whenever someone brings up Faye's name, they defend her. So, I mean, I think that's true from what we've seen to this point. But the question is, do they take the next step and realize they're also protecting her in another way?
Yeah, this whole kind of, someone's protecting
Mm-hmm.
someone, it is, of course, there's some logic in it. Of course, there is. And although we often take the mickey out of people saying, "Why am I still here? Why am I still here?"
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not all about you. There is something in it because
Right.
there is a reason why you're still here. There's a
Right.
reason why you haven't been banished or murdered. Like, there's a reason why everyone's still here.
Well,
But trying to get to the bottom of that is much harder than You can't say therefore you're the traitor. It's you have to have a lot of hypotheses and then put them all together.
Right. And the funny thing is, usually the person who is asking that question is there because they've been forgotten about.
Exactly.
The
Yeah.
people who should be asking that question don't.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if I was Oyen, I would have been asking that a lot
Right.
because that's, yeah, I don't know. It's so interesting. It's so like Oyen and Vanessa, that's such an interesting clique. And then they start to suspect each other. Oh, goodness
Yeah.
me. I really enjoyed this episode. I mean, it was emotional, as was
Yeah.
the last one, but it was fascinating. This is pure traitors here. We're really getting into it.
Yes. Pure traitors after Will is gone. Um, Nick says it's impossible that Ben is a traitor with everything they've been through. Vanessa says she's even willing to rule out Oyen. Nick says he's not ruling Ben out, or no, she's not. She's not. Important missing word there. She's not willing to rule out Oyen. And Nick says he's not ruling Ben out. And Vanessa makes me laugh by saying that's what impossible means. So,
Yeah. Yeah. True. I mean, she's right.
yes, yes.
She's the grammar police. That is exactly what it
Yeah.
means.
All right. So we head to the mission. And as we're on our way there, Faye says she's not excited for these anymore because someone always seems to leave crying. And then there's discussion about how it will involve math. Sorry, maths, apparently.
Yeah.
And Nick seems to feel good about his abilities in that area, which should be a hint to us on how well he'll do.
Yeah.
They arrive to Siobhan and some masked guys in aprons. They will have to count in order to bank the 6,000 or bank 6,000 euros. Each couple, as they split into duos, will count to 13 minutes, 13 seconds, and try to be as close as possible. Any who get within a minute of that get 2,000 euros. So the duos split up exactly as we'd expect: Ben and Nick, Vanessa and Oyen, Faye and Kelly. Siobhan adds that the dark room they're going into is haunted by their recent past. So we know there are going to be some sort of voices of previous players.
Mhm.
In the room, there are two seats back to back. And as soon as one of the players says, I hope we're not tied together, they tie them together. Each duo has a different strategy when it comes to counting. And boom, off they go. As they're counting, the masked guys come in and they start pounding around to distract the players. Then they blow out the candles and the voices of players past are piped in. But it's not like you have to listen to them. It's not like they're doing riddles or anything like that. They're just their voices. And then plus other noises like the witches laughing. Nick and Ben had agreed to count separately, and whoever got there first would tell the other so they could see where they were and split the difference. Nick is first, and Ben says, I am miles behind, which surprised me because I would have thought he would say kilometers or kilometers.
I think you know very well that that is an expression. But I mean, this counting thing, I have thoughts about this as a musician. I have thoughts and I have an experience to share. But first of all, Nick just you could tell, and what he said in his confessional, he was just, oh, I was just counting 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like that's not a second, Nick. That's
Mm-hmm.
just a number. That's an,
Yeah.
it's like let me count a second. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's like that's not a second. Oh
So
dear.
yeah, I have this experience sometimes with my with my TikToks and YouTube videos because I'll do something and then I'll pause for the amount of time for the video clip I'm going to drop in.
Mhm.
I never get it right. I never get it right. I can measure it, and then I sit there and I'm on the camera and I go, and then they said, and I'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. Always either short or long, every single
Mm,
time.
yeah.
So, yeah, I would not do well at this particular task, apparently.
No, listen, when we get to the end of the mission, I'll share my thoughts and my experience.
Okay. So they all finish, and Siobhan says, Oyen and Vanessa barely got it within a minute. Nick and Ben were so bad and nowhere near it. I wish she would have said how bad. She just kept saying really,
Yeah.
really bad. I wish she would have
I-
said like they were 5 minutes off, or something like that.
So clearly they hadn't told Siobhan, like actually how, because she didn't know
Yeah,
how far away they were. Or she was just fobbing them off. Oh, miles away. How much? Oh, loads. It's like she was just trying to like yeah, ad lib on it, but she didn't have that information. Um and I don't know, it would have been interesting to know if these people who are like, oh, all these missions are rigged and all of that. It doesn't
Mhm.
it doesn't help us when you don't actually tell us how well
Right,
they did.
right.
She could have just said, oh, you were within 10 to 20 seconds or something. It was really weird. Anyway, she
Yeah,
did her best. It wasn't her fault.
right. And then Kelly and Faye did the best. So they, as a group, added €4,000 to the prize pot.
Mhm.
So, did you have a story you wanted to tell about the counting?
Yeah. So I'm trying to be very careful with any kind of spoilers. So I'm going to go really general. At a specific event, a fun event amongst some of my friends, maybe we were having a games night. There we go. I'm not making this up. I might be making up the context to avoid spoiling things. Anyway, let's say it was a games night and a game was played where we had to just literally count. I was so confident because I have practiced this. We used to have this show called The Cube, and you'd have missions, you'd have little games like this. It was, flip things over, put this in there, carry this, don't drop this. Like with it was very clever with all the kind of 360-degree cameras. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. And one of the things was just count to 10, like just count 10 seconds, just count 30 seconds, like all of this. And I was like, I can do that. I can do that. So I trained myself. And I did so with a song by the Australian pop star Kylie Minogue. The song is called Step Back in Time. And please, YouTube, if you're listening, this is not a rude word. It is the word funk with an N. Funk, as in funky music. Okay, it goes like this: I want to funk, I want to funk, I want to FFUFUNK. I want to funk. I want to funk. And if you get in that groove, the actual song is 122 beats per minute. If you just slightly ease off it, that is 120 beats per minute, which means that a second should be, and test me on this if you want to in the YouTube things, it should be. So I'm whispering to myself, I want to funk, I want to funk, I want to FFUFUNK. It should be uh, uh, that should be a second, and that is pretty close because I've tested it. However, when we played this game, they also played in all kinds of noises, screams, horrifying thunderclaps, and all of this to try and throw me off. And I was absolutely hopeless and didn't get anywhere near. I think it was, oh, I can't remember, like 113 seconds or something, and no one who was playing the game was anywhere near it. And I
Yeah.
was literally like, you have to be kidding me. My Kylie Minogue method didn't work. I was so furious. I didn't find out how much out I was. So anyway, but if you've got a system, find a song that is exactly 120 beats per minute, has a real groove to it, and then get in the groove. And that should be a second, more or less. There you go, musician's tip. Although I failed.
I was
However,
gonna say,
yeah, but I think I miscounted, David. I think that was the problem. I think I was so in the groove. Yeah, I want a one, I want a two, I want a seven, I want a 30. Oh no, I've lost count. It is so much harder than you think. I promise you. Counting time
yeah,
is so. I was amazed that the two sets of girls got this. It is so much harder than you think.
yeah. Well, I think because I think was it Orion and Vanessa? They were counting out loud. And
Mm,
I think that helps because you have someone to check you.
yeah.
You know. So, and I don't remember what Faye and Kelly were doing. Probably something similar.
Mm.
But what did you say the name of the song from Kylie Minogue was?
Step Back in Time from
Well,
Kylie
that's
Minogue.
kind of funny because the main way I know Kylie Minogue was when she made a guest appearance on Doctor Who. So for her song to be,
Yes.
I know she's a singer, but for her song to be "Step Back in Time," I think that's pretty funny.
There you go. Step back in time, Lord, you might
Yeah.
say.
Yes. Yes. I'm probably getting a joke that's like 10 or 12 years old at this point now. That
I
people
don't
were
think anyone's
making
made
then.
the Step Back in Time was not. It was a hit, but it wasn't her biggest hit. It was like the second or third single
Mm,
from one of her albums. So yes, I like that. Step Back in Time with the Time Lord. Yeah, why
yes.
not? Step back in time and relative dimension in space. There you go.
Yes. Yes. I don't know. Did she ever get into the TARDIS? I don't remember
Oh
in that
no, I don't.
episode.
Okay,
I
now
don't
we
think
we
so.
are on a Doctor Who podcast now. This is
Yes.
not going to go
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Traitors, David. Traitors.
Yes. Traitors. So on the way back, Nick, Ben, and Faye are together in a car and agree they're all targeting Oyen. Kelly asks Vanessa and Oyen in the other car if they have ideas, and Oyen says she doesn't like repeating herself, but she thinks it's Faye. Kelly says Faye sent her into the car as a spy and has been cozying up to her today when she didn't yesterday. Now, I wrote this not realizing how important the language was. I wrote this note because she doesn't say as a spy. She says, she told me to go in and find out what you have to say. And that's going to be important later because Kelly interprets it as find out what they have to say and report back to me.
Hmm.
We'll find out later that what Faye, at least now, claims she meant was you should hear what they have to say. It's only right that you hear both
Hmm.
sides.
Yeah.
So if neither of them are lying, then we have another situation just like yesterday
Hmm.
where one person says one thing and another person interprets it in a completely different way.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, and there's something I don't want this chat to be too kind of gendered, but there is something about the way that the female players are interacting that, I mean, clearly very different from the two male
yeah.
players in this particular instance. But I cannot picture that kind of conversation happening between men. And again, maybe that's my lack of imagination. Maybe it's just the players we have. But there's this kind of informality amongst the women where you go and check on this and you check on that and then oh but you didn't say that and you didn't say this.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be this real focus on the minutiae of how you said things and all of that, and that for a couple of roundtables now that has been coming up. It's been a fascinating kind of angle for having more female players in these final stages. That's been an interesting kind of aspect to the way the game has played out.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just for this particular set of players. I think
Yeah.
that the men that are left are, I mean, it was kind of like Nick said it before. They're all getting emotional. I'm not, and
Mm.
I think it's just these two guys are very straight and narrow. They're going to say exactly what they mean. And
Yeah.
I think some of the other players in general are a bit more loosey goosey with their language.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're seeing. And they're loose with it, but then they interpret it tightly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like this. I may lose the audience completely here. It reminds me of U.S. football because in U.S. football, the referee determines where the ball goes at the end of the play. And he puts it down according to his best judgment of what he saw. But then to determine if they've made a first down, they bring out this very specific measuring device to see. And it can be like an inch off. And I just always laugh at that as someone who, as an engineer who took all the science classes and the math classes through college and everything else, and has indeed worked on very specific things, that you have this very specific measurement
Mm.
of somebody eyeballing where they wanted to put it. And so I just find that funny. And I feel like that's the situation we have here. They're talking in just general conversation, and then they circle back around and analyze it, every single word and syllable.
Yeah, you're right. And actually, I'm going to take back what I said about the gender divide because if someone like Patrick had still been in the game, he would
Right,
have been going into the minutiae as much as Faye
right.
was. So it really is a question of the players. But it's just interesting that we've ended up with this gender divide, like you
Yeah,
say, with these two laconic, very confident men, and that leaving all the women to kind of get stuck into the nitty-gritty of the game.
yeah. So let's see here. So they I think that's the end of the car ride there. But oh wait, no, I'm sorry. The Vanessa agrees with what Kelly said that um, that Faye was not spending as much time with Kelly. She said that Faye was spending the day cozying up to herself and Oyen yesterday, which is interesting because, as I remember, Vanessa walked into the room and specifically called Faye over to have a private discussion, which started them cozying together. So
Mm.
again, another situation of, oh, Faye was cozying up to me. Yeah, but you were the one who called her over to begin with.
Yeah.
So how can you blame Faye for that?
Yes, and that comes up a bit later, doesn't it? We've just got some very active players. Oyen,
With active
Vanessa,
imaginations.
Faye. Yes, very, very, very active. Kelly a little bit less, but
Right.
that's why they're all rubbing, and Joanna was as well towards the end, all rubbing up against each other, all got ideas, all having conversations, and it's then unpicking the knot of who said what
Hmm.
and why. Tricky, really tricky.
Yeah. So back at the castle, Nick and Ben are talking to Oyen. She says if she gets too passionate at the round table, it's because if she has to go out, she'll go out fighting, which is funny because, fast forward there, I think she is the probably least passionate of all of them when it comes down to it.
Mm.
Not for lack of trying. She just kept getting shushed. Uh, Nick says it has to be either her or Vanessa. Oyen gets noticeably upset and says she might cry, so she leaves the room. Nick offers a hug, but she says no. And I just have to say it's weird how it's so emotional for her now, but she and the others had no problem attacking Joanna yesterday, and as you said yesterday, just laughing about it.
Yeah, yes. We've just got some very emotional characters here, haven't
Yeah.
we? Which again makes pretty good TV. Um,
Emotional and a little bit hypocritical.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, and also not particularly honest. It's again in Uncloaked. It was interesting because Faye was saying, which I really do believe. She said there are just so many conversations, and of
Right,
course we're just seeing edited highlights. She said
right.
you cannot imagine how many different chats you have with different combinations of people. So to remember who said what to whom, it's almost impossible. So yes, you get pulled up on it. So I don't think that Oyen, for example, yesterday was getting. I think she just forgot. I think she
Yeah,
just forgot.
yeah. Oyen tells us she feels like she hit a wall with Nick and Ben, and they're going to vote her out, so she can't be with them now. Ben says this is the hard part, but Nick says, think of your kid and family. This isn't the hard part. And Ben does indeed tell us that he wants to win the money for them.
Mhm.
And with that, we head to the round table. Nick gives us some good advice. You don't want to step up and say something stupid that will draw attention. Sit back, let everyone else argue, and make your kill. And this is basically what we discussed yesterday that he and Ben were doing at yesterday's roundtable.
Mhm.
So they get there. Siobhan says the total prize pool is €32,000. And I'm sorry, €32,900. Don't want to forget that part. Faye opens the roundtable by talking about yesterday. I really don't want to rehash it all. But once again, we have different tellings of the same story, and this time about what happened at the actual roundtable. Faye claims that she jumped in to set the record straight about what happened, but Vanessa says no. She sat back, and Vanessa had to bring her in, and they debate, and it's literally she said, I said that she said that you said that I said, and round they go. And then they debate about whether or not Faye is confused, and it's, oh my gosh, there's just no way to keep track of it all. Throughout it all, Vanessa tells Oyen not to say anything at least twice. She just gives her the index finger of not yet. Uh, and and then sorry, lost my place here with all the he says and she says. And then Nick, oh, I'm sorry. Then Vanessa accuses Faye of interrupting while she interrupts Faye, and back and
Yeah.
forth. Then they argue about who's interrupting. And then Nick tries to jump in to let some other people talk, but that goes about as well as you would expect. And
Mhm.
then after Nick's request for Oyen to be able to talk, she finally is allowed to, and then rehashes the same things about Faye sitting back after having said she would have some points to make. Now that is true. Part of this at least is true. We saw Faye yesterday say, "I'm going to take the lead," and then before roundtable, she came back and said, "Nope, it's better if you take the lead." How
Mhm.
that turned into some big blow up, I'm not entirely sure. But emotions and voices ratchet up. Nick tries to play peacemaker. That doesn't work. He tries to be the referee, but Faye and Vanessa keep interrupting each other again while accusing the other of doing just that. And Nick just is like, this is going nowhere. I don't know. Do you have anything to add about this mess?
No, it's very difficult television when they just keep interrupting each other. It's funny because when I studied for my diploma in coaching, one of the things we learn is wherever possible, do not interrupt your client. And this morning, I had a coaching session. I was coaching a client, and at so many points, I was like, "Oh, I should just step in now." And I thought, just remember, do not interrupt. And if you can see that the person has more to say in the coaching space, just wait, just be comfortable. And even if they say, I don't know, just wait because maybe they do know. And so to watch these people constantly interrupt each other is it's it's difficult as a human being. As a qualified coach, it's almost unbearable. I cannot stand it when people constantly, of course, sometimes you chip in, we
Mm-hmm.
chip into each other. We say, what about this? What about
Yeah.
that? That's fine. But right now, you're allowing me to finish my train of thought in a complete sentence so that you can have your train of thought. Over to you.
The urge to jump in there and interrupt just as a
I
joke
know.
was unbearable. I was
I
like,
know.
I want you. Yeah, I there was someone that I used to work with, and she could not help herself. She could not help herself. She interrupted in no matter who was talking, she interrupted them constantly. And it was so bad. It was just like we'd be having meetings with with and they weren't good meetings because we were enforcing against someone. And these other people would just be looking at us like, what is happening here? We can't get a word in. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's very tricky, and I think actually what's happened here is that it's because it's such a small round table. There's
Hmm.
only six of them. That's why it was allowed to continue. When they were bigger group, you get the whole table saying you need to stop interrupting.
Right.
And that, I think Nick tried to. I think he tried to say, look, you both need to just calm down a little bit and stop interrupting each other. It's very hard because also the boys wanted them to go at it. So
Right.
they didn't want to say stop doing it. They wanted more of it because
Right.
it worked in the end. That was all part of the strategy.
Yeah.
Again, if they just stopped, if both of them could have just paused and said, hang on a minute, what's happening here? We're just going at each other and no one else is saying anything. Interesting.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Hmm. Now, Oyen says she has such strong suspicions on Faye that she would say she knows it's her. And she insists that she is herself a faithful, and if they put her name on the board, they will lose the game. Kelly talks about Faye, stuff we've heard already. She confronts her about sending her into Vanessa and Oyen's car. And this is what we talked about earlier that Faye insists she was just trying to be fair so Kelly could hear both sides.
Mm.
I think she's telling the truth.
Yeah.
I think it's also a poor strategy and a poor explanation. I There is no reason that you should ever want a swing vote to be left alone in the car with the other alliance. That is
Mm.
absolutely horrible. You should do everything you can to that. That's part of the point of alliances, so you can have different people at every location. And here you've said, here, take this swing vote and have time to give them all your thoughts. That was
Mm.
terrible.
Yeah, isn't it interesting at this point of the game who gets into which car very often plays a really big
Mm-hmm.
part into it. Because don't forget, they although I say they have loads of conversations, they don't have time outside of the game. They're literally
Right.
separated. So because they want all the conversations to be on camera,
Yeah.
of course. So this car time is really significant time, and we've seen in many versions of the show this can be pivotal.
Yeah. And so that was bad play by all three of them, Nick, Ben,
Yeah,
and Kelly.
yeah.
So, although it may have been that Nick and Ben were in the car and they expected one thing, and Faye was like, "Oh, just go over here." And at that point, it's a little late to protest. No, Kelly, we want you here. But
Yeah.
at least on
Yes. And
Faye, it was definitely bad.
that would look it, because I was just thinking, really, the two boys should have been one in each car.
Right.
But how do they do that? So, oh, me and Ben were just thinking, might be quite nice. Just
Hmm.
that's super
Yes.
suspicious.
Yeah. So, um, Faye says she has nothing more to say and she feels a bit attacked. And Vanessa calls out her use of a word. And what did she call it? Buzzword. She said,
Mm,
buzzword, buzzword. And everybody else is like, what are you talking about? And so Faye then says that Vanessa was screaming at her, which I thought they were going to call her out for that too, because I did not notice screaming unless they
no,
literally cut it from the show.
yeah,
But they they Vanessa doesn't react to that. She reacts to the attack part. Uh, and I mean, it doesn't really go anywhere other than to point out that the two of them get very involved in this discussion. It gets very heated.
yeah.
Uh, so then Siobhan asks for anyone who hasn't spoken yet. Ben says he just doesn't have anything to say and wants to vote.
Mm. Yeah, I was thinking, I thought that was a bit odd. I mean, it ends up working for him,
Mm-hmm.
but I thought, oh, I think maybe you should have said something, or at least I think I would have said something. Um, Even just something as simple as, all I know is that after this conversation, there is at least one or maybe two traitors here, and point at the women.
Right.
That's, something just to
Right.
say it's clear that one of yous is a traitor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know which one it is, something like that. But in the end, I think he might have got that right. Just
Yeah.
literally head in hands. I'm lost, nothing to say, just want to vote.
Yeah.
I'm broken by not knowing who's telling the truth. And of course he knows.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the voting. Faye votes Oyen. Vanessa votes Faye. Ben votes Oyen. Wait, what? Faye? I had literally already written Oyen
Yeah.
in my notes
Same.
because it
Yeah.
was so obvious that's who he needed to vote for. But then he says he came in with one opinion and it changed, which, as a faithful, I can understand. As a traitor,
Mm,
no. I don't know at this moment as I'm writing, these notes. I don't know what the hell he's thinking. So then Oyen votes Faye, and then Kelly votes Faye, and then Nick votes Oyen. Wait, what? Faye also? Uh, and again, I had already written Oyen in my notes. I just thought that
mm,
Ben went rogue, but no, both of them changed it. And I, my initial thought is they had to have this planned ahead of time,
yeah.
and I don't. To jump ahead, I don't think they did. We later find out when they meet, they didn't have it planned ahead of time. So apparently, they think that going to the end with Vanessa, Oyen, and Kelly is better for them, or were they just afraid of the tie? And I think it. I think this is what it ends up being when we hear them talking about later. To jump ahead to that, they say they didn't expect Kelly to flip against Faye. Maybe if you'd
Mm.
have been in the same car and talking to her, you would have known. But, um, but I think that they may have been once they saw that. I think that they were afraid of the tie, and this
Mm.
way, because if there's a tie, and we know that Siobhan said we're going to sit here until someone changes their mind, I think one of them feels like they probably would have caved at that point
Mm.
if they put this much thought into it in the moments that they had. And this way, they appear to show they're on Vanessa and Oyen's side. And as opposed to if they had voted against Oyen, well, then you're never on their side again, even if you flip in the tie.
Mm.
So, or they think they can convince Kelly to join them against Vanessa and Oyen.
Yeah, this was a shocker. I
Mm-hmm.
I I think the editors did a really good job of tricking us and making us think. They even included in the car that little chat where Faye
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Oh, you better not vote against me," and they were kind of, banter. Ho ho, who knows? Let's see, ha ha.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, this was one of the most shocking votes ever. Uh, I in the whole season. I mean, like you, I was like, well, it's going to be 3 and 3. It's going to
Mm-hmm.
be Orient. So
Well,
they
especially with as
didn't.
much time as was left over.
Yeah,
I had
Yeah,
literally written in my notes, oh, it's obviously going to be a tie because of how much time is left over. And delete, 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 delete.
yeah. I had a feeling something else was coming in, and when I thought about it, because they followed the UK seasons quite closely, this kind of format, and then you get the final five. The final five is a thing on a lot of reality shows. So on The Apprentice, I think they don't anymore, but they used to have a spin-off called The Final Five.
Mm.
So it's
We
it's
don't
like a
talk about The
nice.
Apprentice here in the U.S. So.
Oh, well, okay. Yes, I'm sorry for bringing it up. As is just a harmless little old man called, used to be called Sir Alan, and now he's called Lord Sugar. Harmless. Yeah, absolutely harmless. I'm half joking.
Yeah.
He tried to open a bakery on my high street in a suburb of southeast London with one of the winners, and just kind of in between the lockdowns and COVID, he came in his limo and opened it and all of that. And people were like, "Oh, Alan Sugar is here on Beckenham High Street." The bakery closed 12 months later. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. They had nice donuts, but they closed. Anyway, but yeah, the final five is a thing, and so kind of I had a feeling they were going to go to the
Okay.
little
Yeah.
banquet, which I would say more was like a little snack.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the point is that yeah, this was a very very odd um kind of shift at the last minute, and I think you might be right. If they had any strategy in them, I think actually doing anything to avoid that tie was the right thing to do, and
Mm-hmm.
they must have planned it. I thought the same as you. I thought unless they had a little signal, like a little, okay, if I'm holding my glass in my left hand, it's Faye, which
Mm-hmm.
I would do, by the way, as a
Yeah.
traitor. I would have a tell that's absolutely impossible for anyone else to do. I've already kind of planned it. Now it's going to be ruined when I'm on the traitors.
Yeah.
But I thought, because I'm always playing with my hands, and I thought, right, well, if the thumb is out, if the thumb is poking up, then that means
Yeah.
one, and if the thumb is hidden, then it's another. This it's so easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think you're right. I think they just plan to go for Faye.
So, well, no, I was saying they didn't plan originally. I think they switched in the moment.
Do you think both of them read the
I
room and were just
I
like,
do because of Kelly. Because we'll let's get to that when we get to the conclave later. Because
yeah,
I think they explained it a little bit.
okay,
So Faye cries, and I think that her emotions and shock are more because she did expect the guys to protect her,
yeah,
and I think she thought they were going to a tie.
mm,
Instead, boom, she's out. And she gets up to give some final words. She says she came in and was so honest, and she thought she could trust some of them, but she's a faithful. And she leaves. Oyen says she generally thought Faye was a traitor and apologizes. Nick says it's no one's fault, and I'm like, well, that isn't true. And they all just kind of sit there at the round table in shock for a little while. It,
yeah. This was the point at which I had my second girly pop reference of the episode, David, which was I spent the whole episode realizing what Matthew had said very early in the season, which is that Faye looks so much like Britney Spears,
mm,
in certain angles. Um, and so I thought it was a missed opportunity that Siobhan didn't say, "Oops, you did it again." She, she so could have just slipped that in at the end. Well, see, you know the reference. You know
I
that
do,
song.
I do.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
That one's old enough.
Yeah, Brittany has reached a level of stardom where her big
Yes,
hits were big hits. Yeah.
yes, yes. Well, after the roundtable, when they finally leave, even Nick has to grab a Kleenex for his confessional. And Ben says it's not easy, especially when you know she's telling the truth. Oyen tells us she feels shock and relief and confusion as she tries to figure out who the two traitors are. Vanessa says it's bad when someone goes home after an interaction like that because you can't apologize or explain. And my immediate thought is, well, then maybe don't have interactions like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just,
Yeah.
just a thought. Just a thought.
True. Good TV though.
Yeah. Oh, good TV. But if you're going to feel bad about it afterwards, then don't do it. Maybe. Uh,
Yeah.
Nick tells us he feels horrible, but it's what they have to do. But what they have to do to proceed in the game is brutal. Now, as we've already talked about, I was wondering what would fill the rest of the time, since, as we discussed last episode, well, I thought there wouldn't even be a Traitors Conclave. It turns out
Yeah.
there is one, but it only takes a few minutes. So they have this nice dinner for the final five to just get to know each other better. And then they share some thoughts about their families. Now, personally, if it were me, I'd be like, what's going on here? I know there's not going to be a murder, but are they going to be like using some of this information for the next mission or something?
Mm.
Um, so a few just quick things. Nick wants to take his family to Disneyland, and Ben jokes he'll need the whole prize pot for that. Nick also wants to put it towards a house as they are currently renting. So he's an estate agent who doesn't own a house already. I guess that knocks down what we talked about yesterday regarding his posh accent and presumably being well off.
Well, you never know. That we have this phrase, don't we? What is it now? It's not rich poor. There's something like that. Oh, cash something rich, time rich, cash poor. I don't know what I'm saying, but anyway, there are posh people who don't have a lot of money because I don't know if he's posh. I just this is third-hand information that he has
Yes.
a slightly posher accent. So yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because you don't know, we can't know how much money people
Right.
have. Some people are actually quite posh, like, and but still don't have money. Like obviously it's none of our business. But in this conversation, it's really hard because they're all, I know they're just trying to tug on the
Mm-hmm.
heartstrings of each other, but also us viewers. And I must admit, I shed a little tiny little tear or two, particularly with some of the more personal stories. So they got me. They got me. It
Yeah.
suddenly turned into a reality TV show.
Yes. Yeah. So Oyen said her inspiration is her mom and that she was lost after university, saying she studied business, finance, and French, which they're all like, wow, that's a terrible combination. I I don't know why they say it's so terrible. I mean, if you want to deal with French businesses, maybe I'm talking myself out of it right there. Maybe that.
I I let out a little exclamation in French. I was like, "Oh mon Dieu, c'est horrible! Le français et le business, c'est pas possible."
Um, Kelly talks about her parents as well. I don't have much there. Vanessa talks about how her friends help regulate and support her. She came to Ireland as a refugee from Nigeria, moved to America on a sports scholarship for football, aka soccer, in 2015. But she tore her ACL and then she lost her dad. So it's a whole lot of bad stuff happening for her.
Mm.
Um, and I don't know if you wanted to add to what she had said there.
Yeah, well, I just did a bit of Googling, and again, our Irish viewers will be able to fill us in, viewers and listeners, about direct provision, because I was like, "Ooh, that sounds like a thing that I don't know what it is." So I just did a quick Google, and it seems to be part of the asylum system in Ireland. But it seems quite controversial and quite challenging because my understanding is that while you're in direct provision, you get things provided for you, but you maybe can't work at the same time. So when she says that, I felt that the mood around the table went,
Mm,
"Oh wow, okay, that's tough on
yeah.
you," because she's clearly such an intelligent, articulate, confident woman. And so for someone like that to be, to have the state provide stuff for you,
Mm-hmm.
um, and she said it was for years, didn't she? I think 7 or 8 years or something. So wow, that it sounds like she's really had quite a journey.
Yeah. Ben talks about his dad having had cancer. His dad came through, then his mom was diagnosed with cancer, and she just finished up treatment. And then, after all the stories and tears, each player has some parting words for us. The one that stands out to me is Kelly saying she knows everyone considers her faithful, and they'll all be trying to get her on their side, but she doesn't trust any of them.
Mhm.
This may be the smartest thing Kelly has said all season.
Yeah,
And I mean, it's not like she said dumb things. She just hasn't played very strategically. But
yeah.
it, I think this will impact going forward. Like if she knows people are going to try and get her on their side,
Mhm.
how is she going to deal with that? Because if she trusts nobody, well, what are you going to do then?
Yeah. I'm hoping that that will make for a really exciting final
Mm-hmm.
episode because it will be like she will be the kingmaker, and then it's like, okay. So we've seen this before, haven't we?
Right.
When that one little the pawn is there, and it's like this pawn could make or break the whole
Yeah.
game. Yeah.
So they do go to the Traitors Conclave after that, not to murder anyone, just to hang out, I guess. Uh,
Is that David? Have you ever seen that before?
I don't remember it. I
I
can't
don't.
guarantee it, but I certainly don't remember it.
I was sat there going, what are they doing? I don't. I cannot think, and please again correct us, listeners and viewers. I cannot think of another season where they meet just to have a chat. And a couple of things happened. I just kind of thought, like, ooh, I don't think that's very fair, actually. I think they should be having to do that in amongst the
Hmm.
others because suddenly they're getting an opportunity to plot what they're doing. I was really surprised. And again, so
Yeah,
maybe listeners will just comment and say, "Oh no, it happened every season." But this felt really odd to me. It was very interesting to hear, but
yeah,
for them to meet, not murder, and then plan how they were going to try and win the money at the end, I thought, "Oh, this feels odd,
yeah,
different."
yeah. So the way they talk, see, this is where we get to the way they talk, make it seem like it wasn't a pre-planned move to go after Faye, but happened after they saw how Kelly was going after Faye. And
Mm,
once they realized Kelly wasn't with them, I mean, it is surprising that both of them came to the conclusion at the same time,
mm,
unless there was something we didn't see about one of them giving a signal,
yeah,
one of them, kicking the other one of them saying something out loud that would indicate to the other one. Because yeah, they both flipped after that because Ben said he figured he'd get the heat off himself, um, you know, after they found out that Faye was a faithful, which I'm still not sure I understand the logic in that, how that gets the heat off of himself. But I mean, if you tried to protect her and she turned out to be a faithful, in theory, you're proven right. But then on the other hand, they could turn around, I guess, and say, well, you were a traitor trying. I don't know. You could turn anything any direction at this point.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. So nothing is proof of of anything really at this
Yeah.
stage.
Um, so they chat a bit more, and Ben says if they don't crack, they can't lose. I don't think I'd go quite that far, but I agree it's pretty close. Did you get anything else out of their discussion?
No, because I spent the whole time going, this is cheating. They're not allowed to have a final conclave without murdering. Um, yeah. I mean, in a way, they're right. If they can step, there was a very odd thing, wasn't it, when it said, "Oh, at this point, I'd just be happy if one of us won." I thought
Mm-hmm.
that's a really odd thing to say, and it's an even weirder thing to include in the edit.
Yes.
Uh, I didn't know why they included that. Are they trying to have some jeopardy of maybe it is just that actually what they're going to win,
Mm-hmm.
and in the end, it's both of them. Yay! An unprecedented two traitors win. I'm not saying that two traitors have not won in the past in any other season. I'm just saying because it wasn't. It's not really how you expect these shows to go.
Right.
Um, yeah, it was a bit odd, wasn't it? There was something a little bit kind of like I mean they're trying to increase the tension and it certainly has set up an interesting finale, but with these two, if we don't crack, we've got it. Yeah, are they together or are they not? I thought even the fact that they mentioned that one of them could win and the other would be okay with that. That felt like a really weird thing to
I
say.
mean, I think they are together, but I think they might. That was Nick's recognition that one of them could get knocked out.
Yeah.
Not that
Okay.
one of them would turn on each other, but that
Ah.
that one of them could get knocked out. Which, as we head to our final thoughts and predictions, let's talk about that. So we already knew, mentioned last episode, that Dad Matthew said that his prediction was one of a traitor would win, but not Nick. So that leaves Ben. So what are your finale predictions?
Oh, I'm always squirming out of predictions. Right. For some reason, I don't feel that they will both win. Um, Surely now that Faye has gone, there has to be a tide turn. If I was in that castle and I was one of the women, I would just start to think, hang on a minute, what has been going on this whole time? What has been going on this whole time? And although Vanessa is suspecting Oyen a little bit, I just don't think either of them or Kelly is acting at all traitorly whatsoever. So I know it's easy for us to say, but I don't know. I don't think any of them really. I've not been convinced by any of the arguments against any of those three. So really, it would take those three to say, uh, there's been loads of sus on Nick. Should we just get rid of him? So
Hmm.
I suppose what I'm saying is that if there is going to be a traitor win, I think it might be Ben on his own. Um, they might just get him out, you know. They might. Again, it's statistically, it's mathematically, it's not, you know, it's not easy. Having two traitors in the final five is never easy. But yeah, I mean, I'll just say, yeah, maybe a Ben solo win.
Okay. Well, as much as I want to say Ben and Nick win together, the fact that we keep hearing them say it tells me it won't happen.
Mm,
I do think that, like you said, there is suspicion on Nick and Vanessa, um, or rather on Nick and Oyen. Vanessa and Kelly will join together to get him out. I do think Ben will stay free and clear and make it to the end to win on his own. So, yeah, I think that we're all in agreement here, basically, that Ben is going to win, which probably means we're wrong. So,
mm,
but I really think it comes back to the will murder. I think that
mm,
was, either way, I think that was the fatal decision there because I don't think Will would have flipped the way, um, Kelly did. You would have had like Vanessa, Kelly, and Will trying to get them on the same page. You could have just
mm,
picked them off at that point at the round table. I don't think those three would have banded together the same
mm.
way Vanessa Oyen and Kelly did.
Well, as we said at the very start of the episode, the the Wilkin dilemma.
Hmm.
What to do with the Wilkin?
Yes.
Um, yeah, I think I understand now why they wanted to get rid of him because he was a loose cannon, but I still think that was probably a mistake not to get rid of
Yeah.
Oyen, because she's been the most accurate player, at least according to the edit that we've seen all the way through. She's smart. She seems quite trustworthy, um, and her and Vanessa are close.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was a bad miss. But having said that, let's see. It might all work out for them.
Yeah. Well, it's possible. It's possible. Did you have any other final thoughts about this episode?
No, not really. I enjoyed it.
Hmm.
As I say, emotions are really running high. One thing, just a little nuance, is that emotions are running high, but again, it's because it's a civilian series and not this kind of celebrity or
Right.
game player, the survivors and the big brothers and all of that, and the housewives.
Hmm.
Um, it feels very genuine, and that's why I think this has been really considered, I think, a tip-top season. I think it's
Yes.
had really
Yeah.
good reviews. People have really enjoyed it. That's the vibe I'm getting anyway. Um, and I think it's because these are real people playing the game and the emotions are coming out, but they seem fairly, fairly organic emotions. I'm sure they're, thinking, oh, can I eke out a couple of tears because it makes good TV? But generally speaking, this has been interesting people playing the game and giving their full heart to it. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to the final.
Yeah.
I do, I love this show. Sometimes the final episodes, particularly the final episode, can be a little bit anticlimactic, I must say. I'm hoping that there's some little clever little twist or something, or that we just think it's going to go one way and then it goes another. But
Yeah.
that's up to the editors, and I trust them because they've done a
Yes.
good job on the season.
Yep.
What about you?
Yeah. I think once again, I mean, a lot of my what would have been final thoughts I already said, but once again we saw the power of alliances in the game. I mean, they're literally just lined up there. You can everybody knows who's with who,
Mm,
and I do think Nick and Ben jumped ship on theirs to avoid a tie where they piss off everyone remaining. But again, not to repeat myself, but if they had kept Wilkins, they wouldn't have had to worry about that. I don't think so.
mm.
I think that it will be funny if the faithful end up winning. We'll be able to track it back to Joanna giving the shield to Kelly
Yeah,
because otherwise they were clearly going to get rid of Kelly,
yeah.
and boom, it would have been fine for them.
Yes, and that will be one of those moments where we were I was kind of
Hmm.
laughing at her a little bit and just saying, laughing is not the word. I was thinking that is an unusual decision that I respect, Joanna. I am not laughing at you because enough people are laughing at you, and you call them mean girls. I am not a mean girl, just for the record.
Mean
However, I was
mean MaJiKer.
Mean MaJiKer, that's what they all call me. I
Yeah.
mean, I've got a reputation. It's how I'm known as a life coach. I'm the mean life coach.
Yeah.
Um, I hope you detect the sarcasm in my voice. Yeah, no, I think you're right. And isn't it interesting that she, and even on Uncloaked, she said that, Joanna, she said, I felt, that would be useful for the game. Kelly had had a rough day, and I felt that she needed protection. Really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really interesting. Again,
Yep.
it's so nice to do you have to do a Y blank one and then kind of trace it all back.
All right. Well, now that we've wrapped this up, where can people find you on social media?
I am just MaJiKer underscore on Instagram. My website's majiker.com. That's it. I don't really have anything much to plug apart from see you in 24 hours for the
Yes.
finale. How exciting.
Yes.
How can people find you, David?
I am all over social media and reality TV podcasting. I mentioned yesterday I've done in the past few days done a special 10th anniversary celebration podcast for my Y Blank Lost series on RHAP. Have done a double elimination Big Brother 27 Y Blank Lost podcast, and in addition to the 3 Traitors Ireland podcasts here, I will also be doing the first Y Blank Lost for Survivor 49 and another double Y Blank Lost for Big Brother 27 before the finale, which happens on Sunday. And of course, all while doing TikTok and YouTube videos for different aspects of the game, where I'm at David Bloomberg TV on all the video sites. You can find all of my accounts on Linktree/David Bloomberg or on Blue Sky. I'm at David Bloomberg. You can reach out to the Traitor in general, and these go to Dad Matthew. Uh, it, Find us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at the Traitor Podcast. You can email the Traitor Podcast at gmail.com. You could send in voicemail messages for us to play at memo.fm/the Traitor Podcast. I, I don't even know that there will be time to do that between when this podcast posts and the episode, but hey, mention it just in case or for the future. And of course, you can, if you'd like to help support the podcast, you can do so with one-time donations. This is not a Patreon situation at coffee.com. That is ko-fi.com/Matthew Keeley. Or you can buy Traitors merch at thetraitors.redbubble.com. So, with that, do you have an Irish send-off for us?
I'm trying. I'm looking something up. I'm trying to just figure out how to say "we will see you tomorrow," but Google Translate is. I'm not loving what it's saying. Um, I don't trust it at all. I think anyway, it's something like fake for mids, which is definitely "we will see." Fake for mids, shiv, golia amarach, and I know amarach is tomorrow. So why don't
Okay.
I just say, or maybe it's just like slan go amarach or something like that. In any case, we will see you tomorrow.
We will indeed. And remember, everyone, stay traitorous.